Okay, so I guess we'll start. Um, I just wanted to show you guys this slide, which is almost just a day behind. Day of thinking begins. This is also from Nasreen's diary. The way I've planned it out is that every weekend we will take on one artist rather than every session. That gives us a bit of time to sort of engage with the work also at our own time and pace. And for today, as per our schedule, we will look at variables, how to do a bit of animation in using an if statement, and a little bit about understanding the frame rates and the process of all of that in P5JS. But before we start, I just wanted to know if someone has any troubles from yesterday. If you'd like to just share with the group if there's something specific that you'd like to know. And I was also thinking if we can, I don't know, set up a WhatsApp group or I don't know, whatever is people are comfortable with, email thread, and people can share things that they are looking for or have found on the internet. Depending on the group, I wanted to take a suggestion because some people are very comfortable with Discord, some are not. Some people would prefer WhatsApp, some don't believe in WhatsApp or Mark Zuckerberg. So just like give me a sense of what works best for you. Like I'm giving two options that I prefer. One is WhatsApp and the other is so just we can kind of go with whichever is the majority. Okay. Okay. So some answers maybe. Okay, Chandaji, I'm still waiting. Telling them okay, okay, okay. Okay, we'll take a vote on it again at the end. Only people in Bangalore would say this that they moved from Telegram to Signal. Okay. Yeah. So okay. Okay, we'll figure out something that works for everybody, and so I'm a bit averse to Discord because it can become a bit heavy, but maybe we'll look at Telegram or WhatsApp, or stick to email either way. So okay, so we'll do that at the end of today's session. We'll continue today's day with Nasreen's work. I don't have anything more to show. I mean, there's a lot on the internet, but these are the ones that I found to be interesting. Now we'll just quickly dive into the idea of variables and kind of see what we can achieve with them. So uh, basically, variables kind of take not fully, but a bit from simple mathematical expressions, which would be like x plus 9 equals 10. So then what is x? So then it's like, as per whatever maths, it's 1. But what we can actually do with this x, because it's a variable, is really what's helping us to do interesting things with code. And the use of x is like just common or colloquial here. It doesn't have to be. I can call a variable Ambika also. I can call a variable Tara also. I can call it Yugen also. Yugen is my son. So, or you can have a short name or whatever. It's case sensitive. So every time I use it, I have to be particular how I have fixed it here. The way it'll work is very simple. For the moment, I'll just give you an example of a circle. That if I have a circle which is at 100, 100 and has a 30 radius, instead of using 100, I can use say like a value of x. or let me just call it something different because that makes it easy. I'll call it TK, and say it's 100. I can use this anywhere. I can use this here, so then it's 100. I can use this here for the radius, then it's also 100. I can change this 100 to 40, and then again it'll affect it like that. Or I can add numbers to it. So I can say, okay, here my radius is 40, but maybe here I want it to be 50, which is the x position. So I can add another number to, it's not very evident, another number to it also. It behaves more or less like as it does in regular expressions in mathematics. There are two types of variables. Okay, so when you're setting up the variable, you just have to say let, or you can also say var variable, but nowadays the term used is let. And after you've written equals to, you can just put a semicolon. Now there are two kinds of variables. There's what's called the local variable, and then there's what's called the global variable. So to give a simple example of this is that say I added the variable in my setup, and I made a circle here with the same reference, and I made a circle here with the same reference. Why I'm doing this is immaterial, but I'm just trying it out. But you'll notice immediately that it's thrown an error and it says that TK is not defined. So basically, if my variable is within these curly brackets of the setup function, or if it's within these curly brackets of draw function, it will become a local variable. And as soon as I put it outside, it becomes a global variable. So here, if I put TK equals 40, it will give me, now it's coming up to the same place, so it will give me okay, so now you see that this circle was briefly made, but it went away. Can you see that? So that's basically what we were discussing yesterday about the setting up of the mat on the picnic ground and then it going away because it's getting cleaned up. So in general, one second, sorry, I'll just make this a bit smaller. In general, to think about global and local variables is very simple. Like it's just like how we have nicknames at home, and people at home know that we are known by these names. But typically, if I'm addressed by that same name outside, I may or may not respond. So in the same way, the software won't understand the command if the variable is local and it's not specific to that other curly bracket space, the other function. So how this can also work for us is, now I'm going to shift back to calling it say I, and if I say that I is equal to 0, so I have a circle here. But what I can do is I can, because I know that my draw function works in a loop, it keeps working on top, like it keeps placing a new canvas every 24 frames per second. If I told I that every time that you go through the loop, you increment the I value, which was 0, by 1. So what will happen is that you'll see that your circle starts moving. So basically what's happening is that every single time I'm saying that in the first time that the frame ran, I was equaling what was it, 0, right? Yeah, 0. And then second time I want it to be 0 plus 1. Third time I want it to be, now this has become 1 plus 1. And then again we have, this is 2 now, so then 2 plus 1. So every single time that value of I is getting incremented by 1, like a plus 1. So we can write it in several ways. We can say that let I equals to I plus 1, or I can say I plus equals to 1, or I can even say I plus plus. So all of these things will give me the same value. Now, typically what happens is that when you're trying to figure these logics out, it can sometimes be a bit challenging, even if you write it out on paper. So there is a wonderful thing called a console in JavaScript, which allows you, and which where you've been seeing that all the errors get thrown here. So I can specifically ask P5JS to add something for me in the console, so I know what I'm doing with the math. So for example, here I could just write I. So it's console.log I, and then I play it again. So you'll see that the numbers are quickly moving per the frame rate and moving out, and it's moving out of the canvas. So this is a very simple way to know where your number is at. And this is not just limited to adding a number. You can subtract from it, you can divide, you can multiply, whatever you want to do. So if I were to say -1, you'll see that the circle is moving to the left. Or if I were to multiply this by 1, nothing's going to happen. But if I were to multiply this by 10, then it will continue to be that only. Sorry, because it's all everywhere it's 0. Let's say if this was 1, maybe that would make a difference. So it kind of ran away pretty quickly. Or I could use divide as well. I can also use decimal numbers. So I can, instead of saying +1, I can even say plus 0.04. So I can have a slower animation if I wanted. So you can see that the numbers are continuously getting incremented. There's a chat. Sorry. Ready? Okay. So this is the way it works. Now, this can also work in your y coordinate or in your radius. So if I change this 50 to I, can someone tell me what will happen if I added it to the radius there?
The radius will increase per frame.
Yeah, so you'll get a bigger and bigger circle, right? So now I have a growing circle which is also moving towards the right. Right? And you could add this to, you can add this to your background. So like I can do, say, like a 10 plus I. So I can have a, yeah. So I can have a background which is also tending from a very dark 0 color to a very light white color. And you can also add, so basically, so now you can see that it has a lot of opportunities. It will not work the same way in setup, because we know that the setup happens only once. The carpet is always set only once. So if you do something there, it'll happen that just one time, and nothing will happen after that. And then yesterday we did address stroke. So like, say, and stroke width, stroke weight. So if I were to add it to the stroke weight, then it would give me a thicker line, which is kind of tending very going a bit crazy. Or I could add it in the stroke color again. So then it would give me the same thing, that it will tend from a black to a almost white line. Hopefully that works. Yep, you can see that the stroke is kind of moving towards white. So kind of really interesting possibilities immediately with that one number that you are changing very quickly. So now everyone will say, okay, what if I wanted to stop at a certain point? How does that happen? What if I wanted to go back to its original position after a certain point? What if I want the circle radius to come back to a smaller size? So how do I do all of those things? So that's also not very difficult at all. This is where we will look at what is called the if statement. And the way that it works is fairly simple. I'll remove all of this. Okay, so can someone tell me what they'd like to do? Like, give me some kind of a simple thing, like, okay, I want the circle to move this way, and when it reaches half the canvas, I want it to return back. Or if it's going all the way, let it just come back from 0 and start again. So can someone give me an idea that they'd like to try?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought
sure.
it looked like a balloon. So like you could have it moving up when it grew
Okay.
bigger, and then like
And when it's at the
going
top,
down.
okay. So let's try that. Okay, I've never done that before, but it's worth failing in front of everyone. So the way it'll work is it'll be pretty simple. Okay, actually, you know what? Before we start this, perhaps it'll be good if everyone tries out the previous example so that you feel comfortable that okay, this is working for you or not. Whatever you want to do from this set of things, I'll keep the code open and then we'll move to the next part. Cool. Do you guys want to save it in your in the slides? You can also like experiment with putting the background back in the setup. So, Yeah, currently we can't save animations. So just do a screen record. I still prefer that method to figuring it out. Shall we move ahead a little bit? Okay. So I'll try to figure this out with you because I haven't done this coming back thing ever in my animation, but let's see where it takes us. So I still have the global variable setup. Now I will basically my logic. I can think about it in a couple of ways, but let me know, like whoever are better at maths and logic, to tell me if it works. Okay. So this is your canvas, and in this canvas you want to have a circle which starts at the bottom here and then it's going up. So that means that I have a circle function and I have a fixed position for it in my x, so I can just keep it 200, and my position for y is changing, and currently the radius is also okay, the radius is also increasing, but maybe for the moment we just keep it say 30 or whatever, right? So what do we need for this? We need that that our global variable I or whatever that is, it actually, we want it to go from 400, which is the bottom, and we want it to go to the top, which is, so this is 400 here and this is 0 here. So essentially we want to say that I equals I minus 1. Does that make sense? Okay, so we'll just try this and see if at least this bit is working, because we've only done addition up till now. So I will say 200 and I am 30, and for this exercise we may make this 400. So essentially I have a circle at the bottom, and now I'll say that I equals I minus 1. So this gives me something that's incrementing in the negative. It's is that a word? Decreasing, whatever. So yeah. So, and you can see that the numbers also. So what I need now is to say that if my circle has reached this point 0 here, which basically means my I is equal to 0, or it is less than equal to 0. Second, delete these. That if my I is less than 0 or less than or equal to 0, I want the I to stop doing I minus 1, and I want it to do I plus 1, which means it will go down in the y direction, right? So the way to set up an if statement is not very difficult. What you need to do is just write if, and then in brackets you write the condition that you want it to read. So here I want it to read that every time I is less than 0, and then I put a curly bracket, and then in the curly bracket I say what it should do. So this is your if condition, that if this happens, do this. So very simply, like if this happens, do this, right? So here I'll put if it is less than 0, I want it to go plus 1. But here I also wanted to have another condition which says that if it is actually greater than 0, I still want it to go minus, right? So for that, what I can do is after the curly bracket, I can set up an else value. So I can say else and add another curly bracket here and say that, I equals minus 1. Now let's see if it will work. What we'll do is we'll put a console log at the bottom to see what's happening, and some people can see what is the logic that we can apply to it. So currently we have a console log already set up. So what I need to do now is I need to say that if I is less than 0, I want I to increment by 1, but or else I want I to continue to decrease, like this statement here. Right? So let's see what happens and whether it will work or not. Okay, so it's fine till now. So let's see now what happens at the end. Okay, so now can you guys see what the problem is? So in the bottom, you see that it's understood what I want, and you can actually see that it's trying to move even a little bit. That every time it's going back to being greater than 0, it's trying to then decrement it again. So I honestly don't know how to fix this. So maybe we'll figure it out as we go. But I just want you guys to at least not do this else statement, but at least try an if statement in any direction that you want. You want it to go left, right, you want to oops, sorry, can change this around. You want it to go left or right, you want to change the value from being the x value, y value to your x value, or maybe you want the radius to change also. So you can even put an I value here and continue for this to be, so this might become really small then at some point, or just like vanish. So try this one out, and till then I'll see what resolution I can give you for this issue that we have. And again, here you can play with the stroke weight and things like that, and change up the background to the setup and see if that trail effect is nice or not. Kind of. Okay, shall we move forward? Okay. Okay, so now I will, so I think Chandaji had asked what if you want to stop the mouse x value at a certain point. So now that we know how to do an if statement, we can even try that for a bit, where if we know that, let's set it up in a different way, that mouse y equals 0, and these values don't matter much now. Oops, sorry. So now I know that it's here. So now I could set up something like, I could put a if statement around the entire circle command. So I can say that if mouse y is less than 200, or sorry, greater than, less than 200, then you let me make this circle. So as soon as as my mouse is moving away from the 200 point mark, there's no circle that's being made at all. So this is another way to use what you've learned yesterday and kind of add that to what we are learning today. At this point, since we still have a fair bit of time, I will try to figure out your balloon example. But what you can try to do now is see if you can retry the same artwork, but say you want to try it now with the mouse x mouse y and the if and the stroke weight, because now you also know how to change stroke weight. So maybe you start it at a stroke weight of 4 and you say that if x plus plus plus, then the stroke weight is going minus minus minus. So you can set it up in different ways. One way is to set it up with the plus equals to 1, or whatever we did equals to plus 1. The other thing is that even within the specific space, you can make that particular increment only a minus. So say for example this was here, then I could I don't have to then I can think about this as a minus 400. So like that bit of mathematics you'll have to kind of try on your own how you'd like to do that. So just try this again and then I'll give you a solution for this balloon example, which for some reason has me stumped. okay with this? Do you want to try some more things with it? Okay. So you can also do things like, we haven't done fill, but say like if I suppose my stroke is a black color and my circle is and the stroke is black, I can also say that if mouse x is less than 0, oh sorry, less than say 200, then give me a black stroke, else give me a white stroke. So okay, so here I can also give you another tip for fill. Fill is basically the inside of of your object color. This is also written as FILL, fill. So you can invert the colors out totally. Again, here we are using 0 to 255 for the colors, for the gray tones. So here again, it's kind of, I mean, it's so small, I guess you can't see that it's white. So you can see that it's giving you a white line here. So you can contextually you can think about what you want to do with Nasreen's work in that way also. That perhaps where's this guy? That every time my mouse is below a certain y value or is on the right or left of it, the stroke color is changing or the background color is changing. So this can be even for your background color. So for example, here I can say it can be gray, and here I want it to be like a black. So oh sorry, it should be below this. So, but these are very like very stark, like gray versus like a black, but they can be really subtle if you want them to be like, just like a very light gray to a dark gray or something like that. So, something that works well with what you're thinking of for the artwork. Okay. Just try these out a bit, like these background things and all. Then I'll give you some tips on frame rates and how to manage those, so that you can like try different kind of animations also. Are you guys okay?
This fill function is not working.
Okay. Do you want to share your screen or just like maybe copy paste the code here in the chat? Here fill F is small.
Okay. Okay.
And if mouse X, I we'll have to put Chandaji either greater than or less than sign like this or this. Comma will not
Access.
read the in your the if the line which has if mouse X. All okay? Okay, now we'll quickly look at frame rates. I still have to figure a solution for your balloon, but I don't want to feel disappointed by it, and at least not yet. So we'll quickly look at what frame rates can do for you. So for example, if I make the 0 and if it's moving downwards and the frame rate can give you a sense of like how fast or slow it goes, because it gives you a frame count every per second. So I can typically, I think it's like 24 to 30, but say if I make it really like I keep it at 4, so this is just 4 frames per second, so it's only giving you a very slow, almost staggered kind of a movement. Or I can keep it at 1, which is like even slower. Every 1 second only 1 frame is moving. Or I can keep it really fast, where it's moving a bit faster than 24 frames per second, but maybe you can't tell so much. So this is one way to kind of like manipulate the entire canvas to like have your animation slower or faster. This also affects the way you're using mouse X, mouse Y. It's quite interesting to see actually. See, keep this. So you can see that now the animation is like the movement's a bit jittery. Whereas if it were kept at like 24, it will just like give you a very smooth kind of a movement. This can also be like you can really experiment with frame rate in these artworks of Nasreen's, because then you can move your mouse really fast, but you can still get those staggered lines very easily. So for example, if I take the background back up to canvas, then I can have like the lines can be a bit more apparent, or they can be very far away from each other. So here you can see, even though I'm moving at the same rate, the circles are quite far apart. So this is one way you can use it. You can also choose to not have any loops or any animation. Maybe you want it to be absolutely still. So you can do a no loop. So here you can see I've done no loop, and even though I'm moving my mouse around, it has that one fixed space where it's turning up. So it'll almost always not move as per your sort of animation requirements. So these things can be useful, like if you're trying out something and you don't want the animation to or the frame rate to like disrupt your, like, you know, what you're thinking visually, how you want it to be. Typically, like specifically when you're making things which are absolutely static, you sometimes don't even need the loop. So oops, sorry. So if I had to like make several of these, I mean, I don't need anything to happen to these, so I can keep a no loop if I want. But you can also just consider keeping a particular frame rate for any animation that you want to try. So this is more or less what we had for today. Now what we'll be doing in the next session is more looking at some more details around looking at some history and works of Zarina. She was, I mean, born in India before it was partition, but she lived a majority of her life in the US, and has really amazing and big body of work, because she passed away only in 2019. So, and she was almost, I don't know, almost like 80 or something when she passed away. So she has a big body of work, and she was trained as a printmaker. So if you see some of the posters from the feminist movement in the 60s in the US, they were apparently made by her, but I haven't found any of those. I have definitely found her work, and she works around the idea of home. You're most welcome to see all the links that are already here. But of course we'll talk about it in more detail when we meet on the coming Saturday. So today I just want you guys to like continue looking at these works from Nasreen and see what you can do in terms of recreating them. I think this would also look very interesting to see, maybe like keep your background in setup and see what happens when you move a line, and it kind of covers the page like that. Or if you want to look at, say, so that's the thing with recreating, you don't have to like recreate the exact thing, you can consider some portions of it. So if you want to do this line and then see what happens when you move it around with mouse X, mouse Y, or you want to try this one with like these, be like really diligent and make each of these lines or something like that. So like when we are trying out the experiments in the Swarna session, we typically just do like one circle or one line, but people from previous sessions have taken on entire like large bodies of lines and like figured out how exactly to place the artwork, at what pixel point, which is really good because it gives you a really good sense of understanding visually how you can place things within the canvas. And just try to find some of them maybe. Yeah, for example, this one, yeah. So like each and every square, this one was made by Nanditi. So she's figured out each and every rectangle and its position and what color she wanted to give it, and like place them in these blocks and then figured it out based on that. So there's lots of opportunity to try it in a very meticulous way, and people do have the patience and nature to do that, but in this Vana session it can be a bit difficult to try that out. This one also you can like do full like each and every single line of the grid if you wanted to try it that way. I recommend this to people who have worked less with coordinate systems, but say if you're an architect or like a graphic designer, this is something that you do like all the time. So sometimes this may feel a bit tedious and unnecessary, so that's fine, don't worry about it too much. So now if you guys want to head out because the 1 hour mark is over, you can, but if you want to sit and solve the balloon problem with me, I'm happy to do it for another half an hour or so. So just shut the recording off.